Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I am reviewing a genre of film I can't remember the last time I reviewed on my channel. Today I'm talking about a documentary. Now believe it or not, I do watch documentaries. I really enjoy documentaries. Documentaries are fun, informative, educational. I definitely get a kick out of them. It's been a while since I watched one. Usually I just watch like crime docu-series and stuff, and then I just watch them to watch them. I don't really want to review them, but this one I'm just like, yeah, this one I'm reviewing. But yeah, I can't remember if I've ever actually reviewed a documentary on my channel. I know that I've at least mentioned one or two in a top 10, like top 10 films of the year or whatever, but don't think I've ever actually reviewed a done a full review of a documentary on my channel. This might be a first. Oh, damn. I'm lazy. I just think it's most of the time it's very hard to review a documentary because documentaries aren't really something there to be interpreted. Films are an art form and they can be interpreted however you want. But documentaries are different because documentaries are delivering you facts, not opinions necessarily, you know, telling you the truth or things that you don't know, and I don't know how you really review facts. So other than to like sit down and go, I liked it, I didn't like it, I thought it was meh. Like, I don't know how to review, but this one I actually managed to, so I thought that I would do it. So if this is my first documentary review, then you're joining me for a first. Woohoo! So let's just get into it. You Don't Know Me is a 2019 American documentary film directed by Jeffrey McHale that discovers the history of the 1995 erotic drama film Showgirls. I can tell you right off the bat, I love the film Showgirls, and not in an ironic way or so bad it's good kind of way. I mean, I genuinely love that film and have ever since I first saw it. Watching this film and hearing different people talk about it in a positive light, they were all echoing things I have felt and thought about this film for years. Keep in mind, we hear some people share their negative thoughts as well. Now, some people talk about it from the perspective of so bad it's good and how it's enjoyable once you learn to accept how bad it is and are in on the joke, but that's not the case for me. I think there are a lot of powerful messages in Showgirls. They're provocative, no doubt, and told at times in what may be a distasteful manner, but I don't think that diminishes their point. The film is addressing a lot of dark and depraved parts of the entertainment industry, and they called it vulgar and dramatized and highly unbelievable. But let's look at the past few years and what has come out during the Me Too movement. Look at everything we learned about Harvey Weinstein. All of that tells us that everything in this film and its depiction of the entertainment industry is actually pretty accurate, and I think it says a lot that for nearly 30 years, people would rather laugh it off or trash the film instead of acknowledging just how accurate a lot of things in it is. I've heard critics say how the scene with the jewels and the sabotage on the stage was outlandish and absurd, and to that I think, has no one ever heard of Tonya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan? Like, seriously? Maybe the execution wasn't great. Maybe there are plot points that didn't need to exist. I could blame that on editing, but I think the film has grit, and it has grit for a reason, and I've always found it empowering, and I won't dive into it too much in this video, so I suggest you check out this link here to this episode of the Cinema Recall podcast, where I was a guest to talk about Showgirls, and I had an amazing time, and in that episode I really go into great detail in what I loved about the film and what I found empowering about it, and what messages I took from it. But back to the doco, it was really comforting to watch this and hear a lot of my thoughts and feelings repeated back to me. Not that I needed validation, but it felt validating. More than that, this, like most documentaries, was really eye-opening. This addresses and talks about a lot of the hate the film got when it came out. We see snippets of the reviews and they were extremely cutthroat, but the documentary points out an interesting pattern, how a lot of the reviews after a while were just a lot of the same. Review after review were all dropping very colourful insults towards the film, but upon closer inspection, they weren't actually saying anything. They were all to a degree copying each other as if there was a bashing review format. They weren't going into the technical aspects of the film. No one was even attempting to analyze it. No one was bothering to break it down. They were all varying degrees of this is tasteless trash, the performances are trash, and no one should see it. In the beginning, reviews were detailed, but pretty quickly it seemed more so that people were following a trend, and the trend was bashing this film. Those those reviews were soulless and said nothing of value. It's not wrong to hate a film, but if you as a critic can't elaborate on why you hate a film or what makes it bad in your eyes, but insist on calling it trash and no one should see it, then something is rotten in Denmark, and it was a really fascinating observation this project makes. Something else I found educational was how it compares Showgirls to Valley of the Dolls and Mummy Dearest, films I've heard about all my life, films I have grown up hearing called iconic and classics. Well, I had no idea until watching this that at the time of their releases, those films were just as hated and trashed by the critics like Showgirls was. That is crazy to me, since I've grown up hearing these films referenced all the time and quoted and just spoken about with admiration, so to find out they were loathed had me stunned. But these films over the years found their cult following and have become loved and appreciated the world over, and the same goes for Showgirls. That film also now has a cult following. It took years, but eventually people developed a love and appreciation for it, which I think is amazing. What this taught me was that maybe there is no such thing as a terrible film. Maybe all there are films that came out at the wrong time, and give enough years, maybe one day they will find their place in the world. Maybe in 1967 Valley of the Dolls was a terrible, tasteless film, but now it has transcended into something else. Maybe the films I myself hate now and have seen others hate, in 30 years will find new audiences who will adore them and see something we didn't. It's a fascinating look at films and how, while a film is frozen in time, as the audiences evolve and our view on the world and films evolve, those films from the past take on a whole new meaning, and I love that. It was interesting listening to how Paul Verhoeven, someone who has been so unapologetic with his films over the years, kept changing his stance on what the film was about and what his purpose was. I 100% believe everything he said about the film upon its release was the truth, and I think everything he has said since has just been his way of changing the narrative to try and find which version works and which version will bring in viewers and give the film an audience. I believe it's a marketing tactic and nothing more, but I wish he would just stick to one story, preferably the truth. While I love the subject matter of the film and how it not only analyzes the film but society's view of the film, I didn't enjoy the style in which it was made. I can't say it was poorly made or edited because none of that's true. I can only say it wasn't to my personal enjoyment. The fact we never spoke to any of the cast or directors, everything was archived footage, the fact we never sat down and spoke to any of the critics or authors who were speaking about the film, we only heard their voiceovers, it felt so impersonal for me. These people are talking about their personal experiences with the film, and not being able to see them as they spoke prevented me from seeing their sincerity, and it made it hard to really take in a lot of what they were saying. On top of that, because as they were talking, they are showing so many pieces of footage on the screen that requires you to read the writing on the screen, and it's hard to read all the details put on the screen while listening to the important information being shared via the voiceover. I just wish we had seen real people speaking and not have it be the only time we see someone speaking is because of footage they gathered of that person from 1995. I would have liked a more personal experience with those involved, because for me personally it felt detached. That all being said, this is still a brilliant documentary, and if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Showgirls or have an interest in its history. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Showgirls, then don't forget to check out the podcast episode I was featured in that I mentioned earlier, because that was a hoot, and I said some crazy things in that, and you do not want to miss it. And those are my thoughts on You Don't Know Me, which, I love that title. And they actually kind of make a reference to the name Nomi, and that it does have that kind of multiple meanings to it, like you don't know me, you, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that was actually the intention of the name, or is it just because it's actually a neat name? I don't know. And since Paul Verhoeven won't stick to a story, I can't determine what the purpose behind that name was either. But if you have seen this documentary, then please comment down below, share your thoughts. If you want to share your thoughts on Showgirls, you are welcome to do that as well. Like I said, I loved it. I know that there are still a lot of people who don't, and as I always say, to each their own. But yeah, definitely if you've seen this documentary, share your thoughts down below. Love to hear them. And if you haven't seen it, definitely consider checking it out. It's a very interesting piece to watch. I'm late to watch it. It's been sitting in my computer for ages, like, watch me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to you eventually, but me, the eternal procrastinator, you know, didn't get around to it until like a month ago. But I did it. You've heard my thoughts, so all is good. So that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, consider giving me a thumbs up. You don't have to, entirely optional. I don't usually say it because I don't like saying that and asking and doing all that stuff, but I have some aspirations for my channel this year, so may as well try asking. Thank you as always to my amazing patrons and all the support that you continue to give me on my YouTube, on Patreon, on social media, all that good stuff. You guys rock. And if you would like to see what kind of content I post on my Patreon, there is a Patreon link in the description box and also attached to my main channel page. You can check it out and see what you think. And that is it for this video. Everyone, as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and I hope to see you in my next video. So until then, bye!